Good morning, and welcome to Ground Zero for the Second Amendment, and that is at Adventure Outdoors in Smyrna, Georgia. You will find no other place, no other company, no other family anywhere in the world that is more consistently and heartfelt supportive of our constitutional right given to us by the Lord and guaranteed us in the Constitution than the Wallace family. Hear, hear. And the Wallace family, where is Jay? Jay's over here. Jay, come up here so everybody can see you. Everybody here, I think, knows Jay Wallace. But the Wallace family, they are not latecomers to the Second Amendment, as I suspect nobody here is. And that is because all of us understand that the right to keep and bear arms is, in fact, the most fundamental of rights guaranteed us in the Constitution. Even if a person is not a gun owner, even if a person is not a shooter, they have a stake in protecting the Second Amendment. Because if, in fact, our government, as different administrations have tried to do, takes away or works to take away a right that is expressly guaranteed in the Constitution, then, if they are successful in that, there is nothing that they can be stopped from doing. That is why every American, gun owner, shooter or not, needs to recognize and support the Second Amendment and those organizations like the National Rifle Association of America, for which I am a very proud, long-serving board member, is out there constantly fighting day in, day out, year after year after year, as the nation's oldest and strongest and most consistent civil rights organization in the country, the National Rifle Association. And we are delighted and honored to have with us today the first Vice President of the National Rifle Association of America. And I'd like you now to give a warm Adventure Outdoors Georgia welcome to Colonel Willis Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year. I am Willis Lee. I'm the Vice President of the National Rifle Association of America, and it's an honor, a privilege, to represent our 5 million patriots who are members of the National Rifle Association, including those of you here in Georgia and here today. It's nice to see friends, from Governor Kemp to NRA board member and Congressman Barr, to many of the Georgia legislators here, and representatives from organizations and industry reps who take the Second Amendment and freedom to heart. It's fitting to make this announcement at Adventure Outdoors with our NRA committee member and good friend, Jay Wallace. Thank you, Jay. The Second Amendment belongs to every law-abiding citizen. The NRA doesn't care what color, race, sex, size, where you live, or what you do. The NRA's got 170 programs, from the gold standard of training, education, and safety, to competitions, to hunting, to collecting, to plinking in your backyard. Our 117,000 NRA certified instructors train over 1 million Americans every year, to include our programs, for instance, Women on Target and Refuse to be a Victim. Our Eddie Eagle Youth Gun Safety Program has been presented to over 33 million children. We always back the blue, especially with our 10,000 NRA certified law enforcement firearms instructors. And of course, NRA members take seriously their right to bear arms and are a political powerhouse. We shouldn't have to claw back a civil right. We shouldn't have to fight for a God-given right to defend ourselves. We shouldn't have to argue the restrictions placed on government of 4 simple words: shall not be infringed. But as long as people who hate you and hate freedom persist, we have 21 states who have enacted constitutional carry. And the Second Amendment is most important in the face of leftist policies foisted by leftist politicians and judges. And as long as there are anti-American, anti-gun zealots who try to take our civil rights, NRA members will stand and fight this year, next year, and into the future. Governor Kemp has been a Second Amendment supporter his entire life. His leadership, and this is key, his leadership has been instrumental. And what he has done with the World Congress Center, making that an easy place for the NRA to operate, this is why it gives me pleasure, great pleasure, to announce today that our NRA Board of Directors has decided to host the 2025 National Rifle Association of America annual meeting in Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations, Georgia. Congratulations, Atlanta. Thank you, Governor Kemp, and your staff for being so instrumental in making this happen. God bless the United States, and God bless all of you NRA members. Thank you.
Well, that saves me a lot of airfare here in 2025. So that is great news. Thank you, Willis. As I mentioned a few moments ago, I'm a long-serving board member for the NRA. I was actually elected to the NRA board in 1997. At the time, young Brian Kemp, I think, was still in high school. But notwithstanding his youth and his energy, he was, even back then, a strong and heartfelt supporter of the Bill of Rights and the Second Amendment to our Constitution. I recently took the opportunity to reread the oath of office that Brian Kemp took 3 years ago when he was sworn in as governor of the great state of Georgia. And the oath of office that he took did not talk about swearing allegiance to parts of the U.S. Constitution or parts of the Georgia Constitution, because Governor Kemp knows that the Constitution doesn't have perforations. You can't pick and choose, pull out the parts that you don't like and swear allegiance only to the others. Governor Kemp understands that that Constitution of the United States, backed up by the Constitution of Georgia, is a whole fabric, and all of it needs to be protected. But none more important than the right to keep and bear arms given to us by God, but backed up by the full faith and credit of the Second Amendment to our Constitution. And that is just one of many reasons, perhaps the most important reasons, why I am a very proud supporter, as all of us are, of Governor Brian Kemp, who will, next January, be sworn in again as the governor of the great state of Georgia.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Congressman Barr. It's great to be with you. And just on behalf of Marty, our great First Lady, doing more than anyone in the country to end human trafficking, by the way. Our youngest daughter, Amy Porter's here with us this morning, and we just appreciate you all's support. And I also want to thank Willis Lee, the first Vice President of the NRA, for being with us today and making the exciting announcement about the annual meeting coming back to Georgia in 2025. Willis, I asked Jay when you announced that, I said, "You going?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going to go." So it's going to be great. That'll be a great event for us to have here in the great state of Georgia. It'll be good for our small business owners and everyone else from the tourism service industry perspective, as well as just standing up for things that we believe in. Back in 2017, this conference brought in $60 million in direct economic impact in our state, and we look forward to an even bigger event 3 years from now. I'd also like to thank the NRA, GA2A, the Georgia Hunting and Fishing Federation, and a representative from the National Shooting Sports Foundation and Safari Club International for being here with us today as well, but also for their long-standing support and advocacy for Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Americans. I also want to take a moment and recognize so many members of the Georgia General Assembly that are here. I'm grateful for your support, but also your leadership over the last 3 years and even before that, to have our state in such a great position. So thank you all for being with us today. I know when I came in, I saw a lot of local elected officials here with us today, and I appreciate you all's support and you all for standing up for Second Amendment rights as well in your local communities back home. You know, all of these people have been in the trenches for many years to protect and expand the freedoms and rights that are granted to us by our Creator and enshrined in our Constitution. There's no question that we are living in challenging times. Across the country, we are witnessing liberal states and cities demonize law enforcement, defund local police departments, undermine public safety, and threaten the security of countless American families. These dangerous policies are echoed by the far left in Washington, D.C., and are one vote away in the U.S. Senate from becoming the law of the land. But that is not going to happen here in Georgia. Alongside the members who are here with us today, we passed and I signed legislation to prevent rogue local governments from defunding local law enforcement, and we cracked down on dangerous street racing. We have invested in anti-gang initiatives that are taking the fight to these dangerous criminal networks, and we passed bipartisan reforms to rid our state of human trafficking. And when other local elected leaders chose inaction, my office formed the Crime Suppression Unit, comprised of state and local law enforcement partners in Metro Atlanta, that puts wanted felons behind bars, stops people driving DUI, has taken stolen weapons off the streets, and impounded dozens and dozens of stolen vehicles. And above all, when other states and local governments has used law enforcement as political pawns, in Georgia we have stood with our men and women in uniform, and we have and will continue to have their back. But we realize that ensuring public safety cannot just come from state government. Building a safer, stronger Georgia starts with hard-working Georgians having the ability to protect themselves and their families. In the face of rising violent crime across the country, law-abiding citizens should have their constitutional rights protected, not undermined. And while this position has recently become popular for others as we enter the campaign season, my position has remained the same. I believe the United States Constitution grants the citizens of our state the right to carry a firearm without state government approval. For law-abiding Georgians, their carry permit is the founding document of our nation. And I look forward to working with the members of the House and the Senate, many who are here today, and groups like the NRA and GA2A on legislation, some of which has already been filed, to get constitutional carry across the finish line this legislative session. Now, make no mistake, I have no doubt that the left and the media will come for Georgia just like they have done in the past. They tried to boycott us when we stood up for life at the heartbeat, and we prevailed. They tried to demonize us when we protected both lives and livelihoods through a global pandemic, and look where we are now economically. They tried to cancel us when we passed the nation's strongest election integrity legislation. We have and will continue to prevail there as well. And I know that if we work together like we have in the past, we're going to win this fight as well. Thank you all for being here. God bless you, and may God continue to bless this great state of Georgia. All right, we got any questions this morning?
Governor, you're also supporting crackdowns on the violent crime. How do you reconcile your support with this gun rights expansion at the same time you want to crack down on more gun-related crime?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's an expansion. It's more of a protecting a constitutional right that people have. This is a public safety issue. I think we've seen around the country that people are concerned when their kids can't go pump gas. You know, they can't send their wife to go pump gas. People can't go to the mall. And it's time that we stood up and give citizens a right to protect themselves. Now, on the backside of that, you know, state government's been very proactive over the last 3 years at doing exactly what I campaigned on in 2017, cracking down on street gangs, you know, going after and ending human trafficking, but also supporting the victims. Marty and the Grace Commission. Many legislators have stood up in support of that. And we're also making sure that we're doing something about violent crime in cities where others aren't. Because, I mean, people are just fed up. And to me, that's what this issue is about, and it makes the time right to do this.
Why this year? Why not last year or the year before for this issue?
Well, I mean, look, you got to have legislative support. You also look at what we've been through in just the 3 short years that I've been governor. You know, I made a lot of promises when I ran, and one thing that Georgians will realize if they look at my record in conjunction with people that are standing with me today from the Georgia General Assembly, you know, we have been fulfilling all of those promises. Heartbeat legislation, largest teacher pay raise in state history, you know, what we're doing to lower private sector health insurance costs, trying to get more access to people on Medicaid, even though the Biden administration continues to block us on that issue, and many, many other things. But we've also been dealing with the global pandemic. But it doesn't make my priorities and what I promised people I would do change any difference. You know, we're going to tackle that this year. There seems to be a lot of legislative support for it. And, you know, I can't sign something unless it passes with the majority of the votes. And so that's why I appreciate the legislators being here today.
What specifically are you trying to get passed? Is it waiving the fee? Is it no permit, whether it's concealed?
Well, it'll be a true constitutional carry, and I'll kind of refer that to us working the details out. I mean, the good thing is I think there's like 12 constitutional carry bills that are filed, many by members that are standing behind me today. So, you know, we're going to work with them to perfect the legislation. We'll be talking more about that in the days to come. But, you know, this is basically just going to give people their constitutional right to, you know, carry without a piece of paper from the government.
Are you dropping your own bill, or are you going to support one of the bills like Randy Ballinger's bill?
We're still working on that. We're talking to a lot of the leadership and a lot of the legislators, and we'll keep you posted on that.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, great.
Governor